The wilderness demands respect. It is indifferent to human warmth, to love, and to innocence. Nowhere is this truth colder than in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Blackwood National Forest during the brutal winter months. For decades, this ancient shadowed landscape has held its secrets close, but none are more chilling than the story we explore tonight. In the small, isolated town nestled on the park's edge, locals still speak of the winter of 1993, and the two children who simply disappeared. This is the case of Elara and Finn, a sister and brother, aged 8 and 10, respectively, who vanished without a trace from the supposed safety of their family cabin. Tonight, we delve into a case where the wilderness seemed to swallow two innocent lives whole, leaving behind only frozen questions and terrifying theories. The day was December 27th, just after Christmas. The Miller family, Mark, Sarah, and their children, Elara and Finn, were enjoying a quiet post-holiday retreat at their rented cabin deep within the Blackwood boundary. The morning had been spent lazily. The scent of pine and leftover treats hung in the air. Around 3 p.m., the children were playing a board game in the living room. Sarah stepped away for just 15 minutes to bring in firewood from the porch. When she returned, the board game was untouched, the dice still scattered on the carpet. Elara and Finn were gone. The initial panic turned quickly to cold dread. Mark and Sarah searched the small cabin, calling out into the silence. Then they checked the back door. It was slightly ajar, rattling faintly in the subtle icy wind. Crucially, the children had left their protective gear behind. Their heavy parkas were hanging on the pegs, and their snow boots were neatly beside the hearth. Whatever compelled Elara and Finn to leave the warmth of the cabin, it was something sudden, something that suggested they planned on returning within seconds. Within the hour, the alarm was raised. Local authorities, park rangers, and dozens of frantic volunteers formed a massive search grid. But as night fell, the wind whipped into a blizzard. The children of the snow had only the deepening cold for company. The search continued for 3 relentless days, hindered by zero visibility and accumulating drifts. The hope for finding the children alive was fading hour by hour. Then, on the 4th day, the search yielded its first and most disturbing discovery. A volunteer found one of Elara's toys, a small handcrafted doll, slightly waterlogged, lying miles away from the cabin. It was found high up a steep, rocky ravine, an area challenging even for adult hikers, let alone 2 small children. But the most chilling detail was the doll's placement. It hadn't been lost or dropped accidentally. It was placed neatly on a flat, frost-covered rock, sitting upright and facing the direction of the setting sun. It was an intentional act. The investigation then focused on the immediate surroundings of the cabin. A ranger spotted faint, small tracks in a patch of less disturbed snow behind the house. They were clearly Finn's boots. The prints led directly away from the door, traveling in a straight line across a small open field. And then, the tracks simply stopped. There was no sign of a struggle, no scuff marks, no drag signs. Finn's small tracks ended abruptly, as if he had simply lifted into the air. But the snow held one last, horrifying piece of evidence. Beside where Finn's tracks ceased were large, heavy, distorted impressions. These prints did not match any local hiker's boot. They were too massive, too deep, and lacked the clear tread of a modern shoe. They looked like a footprint, but distorted and elongated. And these prints led away from the cabin, continuing into the deeper woods, in the direction of the doll. And they were the only tracks leaving the scene. When investigators finally re-examined the cabin, they found the last piece of their puzzling physical evidence. The back door lock was slightly jimmied, not violently forced, but just enough to be easily manipulated. It suggested someone or something was able to quietly and quickly let the children out, or perhaps let itself in. What happened in the fleeting moments between Sarah Miller fetching wood and returning to the room? The evidence forces us to confront increasingly unsettling possibilities. The rational mind suggests the children succumbed to the nature theory. Hypothermia could have caused disorientation, leading them to shed clothes and wander. But this fails to explain the neatly placed doll, the jimmied lock, and the lack of a struggle at the point where Finn's tracks vanished. This pushes us towards the human intervention theory. Did a stranger, a local eccentric, lure the children out? The massive, distorted tracks could be a heavy-set individual wearing oversized, specialized winter gear. The doll could have been placed as a cruel signature. But if this were the case, why leave no other sign? Where did they take them? Finally, we confront the deepest, darkest speculation rooted in the history of the forest itself. Local legend speaks of the Whispering Snow, an entity said to inhabit the deepest, most inaccessible parts of Blackwood. It is said to mimic the voices of loved ones, drawing unsuspecting victims out into the cold, where it leads them to places they can never be found. The tracks, lacking the clear definition of human footwear, only fuel this terrifying paranormal hypothesis. Could this ancient entity have manipulated the vulnerable lock and called the children out into the fatal snow? To this day, the case of Elara and Finn Miller remains completely open. No bodies have ever been recovered, no confession has ever been made, and there is no rational explanation for the tracks that led only to nowhere. The Blackwood Forest simply absorbed the lives of two children, and the snow guarded the secret perfectly. The fate of the children of the snow is perhaps the greatest horror of all, the terror of a mystery that is utterly unsolvable. What do you think happened to the children of the snow? Was this a tragic, unrecorded abduction, or did the true horror of the wilderness claim them? Let me know your theories and thoughts in the comments below. If you want more chilling true horror and unexplained mysteries delivered straight to you, hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe and keep your doors locked, because you never know, this might one day be a nightmare on your street.